The evening sun cast a warm glow in the room, and I was engrossed in a book when my phone buzzed. James' name flashed on the screen, signaling a message. Excitement surged within me. He'd been away for what felt like an eternity. Business is over. I'm on my way back now. Dinner reservations at 7 o'clock at Mario's. Happy anniversary. My heart skipped a beat, a mix of anticipation and disappointment washing over me. His message lacked the usual warmth, the endearing emojis that used to pepper our conversations. Something was amiss, but I pushed the nagging feeling aside. Tonight was supposed to be special. Everything okay? My best friend, Sarah, called from the living room, sensing my sudden shift in demeanor. I forced a smile. Yeah, just James. He's on his way back for our anniversary dinner. That's wonderful, Em. I'm sure he has something special planned, Sarah chimed, trying to lift my spirits. Yeah, I hope so, I murmured, my gaze lingering on the message, the absence of James' usual affection lingering in my mind. As I rose to prepare for the evening, Sarah's concern lingered. You seem a bit off. Are you sure everything's okay between you two? I hesitated, debating whether to confide in her, but a surge of guilt halted me. It's nothing, just pre-anniversary jitters, I guess. Sarah offered a supportive nod, though her worried gaze lingered on me for a moment longer before she busied herself with some music, giving me space. My thoughts raced as I tittied up, a whirlwind of emotions stirring within me. Excitement for James' return mingled with the guilt of my secret affair with Michael. The text message lingered in my mind, a stark reminder of the disconnect that had been growing between James and me in recent months. The days leading up to James' return were a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. My mind wrestled with guilt over my affair with Michael, even as I attempted to create an idyllic setting for our anniversary dinner. Sarah had left for the evening, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I wandered through the house, restless, trying to bury the guilt that gnawed at me. My phone buzzed with a message from Michael, and I hesitated before answering, my heart racing with a mix of anticipation and guilt. Can't wait to see you tonight, his message read. I sighed, a knot tightening in my stomach as I debated the implications of our clandestine affair. The memories flooded back, stealing moments with Michael, the thrill of secrecy, and the escalating fear of James discovering the truth. My heart ached with regret and a sense of betrayal, yet I couldn't shake the feelings I harbored for Michael. Unbeknownst to me, James, an undercover agent with unparalleled surveillance tools, had suspicions. His work had led him to uncover my clandestine affair. As he watched the monitor displaying incriminating evidence of my interactions with Michael, emotions warred within him, shock, disbelief, and a wrenching sense of betrayal. In a hidden room adorned with monitors and surveillance equipment, James sat, staring at the screen in disbelief. His mind raced, trying to reconcile the evidence with the life he thought he knew. What do you have for me? James' gruff voice filled the room, his gaze fixed on his colleague, Eric, who stood nearby, reviewing the gathered information. Everything checks out, James. She's been meeting Michael regularly. We've got emails, texts, and surveillance footage confirming their relationship, Eric reported, a tinge of sympathy in his voice for his friend's plight. James ran a hand through his hair, a mixture of emotions roiling within him. How long has this been going on? His voice was laced with a raw sense of hurt and disbelief. Eric hesitated before answering, aware of the impact of his words. Almost a year and a half. The weight of Eric's words hit James like a sledgehammer, the revelation of the extent of my betrayal cutting him to the core. A sense of betrayal, anger, and an overwhelming desire for answers gripped him, leaving him reeling in the wake of shattered trust. The evening at Mario's unfolded with an air of anticipation and tension. As James and I sat across from each other, the atmosphere felt charged with unspoken words. My heart raced, sensing something was amiss. Happy anniversary, Emma, James greeted, his voice neutral, devoid of the warmth I had grown accustomed to. Thank you, James, I replied, trying to mask my unease as I scanned his expression for any clues. There was an underlying tension in the air, palpable and suffocating. James' piercing gaze held mine, and a knot formed in the pit of my stomach. Is something bothering you, James? I ventured, my voice laced with concern. He didn't answer immediately, his gaze fixed on me, as if he were unraveling the depths of my soul. The seconds felt like an eternity, the silence echoing louder than words. Then, with a measured tone, he spoke. "Emma, we need to talk." My heart plummeted as he presented evidence of my affair, laying bare the truth I had desperately tried to keep hidden. Shock and fear gripped me as he served me with divorce papers, the weight of his words crushing my world. "James, please, this isn't what you think," I stammered, my voice trembling as I grappled with the reality of the situation. He remained stoic, his eyes holding an unfathomable mix of hurt. In the aftermath of the gut-wrenching confrontation at Mario's, the days unfolded in a haze of emotional turmoil for both James and me. For James, the revelation of my infidelity had shattered his world. He grappled with a whirlwind of emotions, betrayal, anger, and an overwhelming sense of loss. As an undercover agent, his duty had always been to uncover secrets, yet the discovery of my affair had blindsided him. Confronting the reality of our fractured marriage, I found myself ensnared in a web of guilt and regret. The weight of my actions weighed heavily on me as I navigated the aftermath of our shattered relationship. In a hidden room within our home, James pored over the evidence, each piece a dagger to his already wounded heart. The surveillance footage, emails, and texts depicting my tryst with Michael Brown were a stark reminder of the betrayal he had endured. In a rare moment of vulnerability, I sought solace in a conversation with Sarah, my trusted confidant. "Emma, I'm here for you. But why didn't you tell me?" Sarah's voice held a mixture of concern and disappointment. "I was scared, Sarah. Scared of what people would think. Scared of losing James," I admitted, my voice choked with emotion. "I understand, but secrets have a way of unraveling," she replied, her words echoing the painful truth. Meanwhile, James focused on unraveling the illicit activities of Michael Brown. His meticulous investigation led to the exposure of Michael's shady dealings, causing a ripple effect that severed Michael's ties to a prestigious law firm. The fallout of James' actions reverberated, creating a storm that disrupted the lives of everyone involved. The consequences of our choices were undeniable, leaving us both grappling with the aftermath of our shattered marriage and the tangled mess it had become. James had unearthed Michael Brown's illegal dealings, and the time had come for a decisive confrontation. The tension crackled in the air as James prepared to confront the man who had been a shadow in our lives. In a dimly lit office, Michael sat behind an imposing desk, exuding an air of confidence that faltered as James strode in, his gaze unwavering. "Mr. Brown," James greeted, his voice even, belying the turmoil within. "James, to what do I owe this unexpected visit?" Michael feigned nonchalance, though a flicker of unease danced in his eyes. "You know exactly why I'm here, Michael," James responded, his voice steely, revealing none of the emotions swirling within. As James laid bare the evidence of Michael's illicit activities, the tension in the room soared. Papers shuffled, and the air grew thick with the weight of impending consequences. "This isn't a game, Michael. Your actions have consequences," James stated, his voice resonating with a stern warning. Michael's facade cracked, replaced by a veneer of desperation. "You can't prove anything." "This is all just hearsay," he retorted, attempting to deflect the mounting evidence. But James remained unfazed, each word measured and deliberate. "Your games end here, Michael. Your association with illicit dealings won't go unnoticed." The confrontation reached a crescendo as James unveiled the irrefutable evidence, leaving Michael reeling with the realization that his career had come crashing down. "You're done, Mr. Brown," James declared, his tone final, signaling the end of Michael's reign. As James turned to leave, Michael's mask slipped, revealing a mix of anger and fear. "You can't do this to me. You'll regret this, James," he hissed, a tinge of desperation in his voice. But James simply walked away, leaving Michael to grapple with the fallout of his actions and the looming repercussions of his illicit dealings exposed to the light. In the aftermath of the tumultuous confrontations, a fragile truce settled between James and me. The remnants of our shattered marriage lay scattered like pieces of a broken puzzle, leaving us to navigate the wreckage. Amidst the chaos, James and I found ourselves navigating unfamiliar territory, trying to salvage what little remained of our relationship. The tension that had once enveloped us seemed to ease, replaced by a cautious understanding of our shared pain. One evening, as we sat in the dimly lit living room, the weight of our unspoken words hung heavy in the air. "I never thought it would come to this," I murmured, breaking the uneasy silence that lingered between us. James looked up, his gaze meeting mine, a semblance of sadness in his eyes. "Neither did I, Emma." The weight of our shared regret was palpable, a silent acknowledgement of the irreversible damage done to our once strong bond. "Can we even move past this?" I asked, my voice tinged with uncertainty. James hesitated before responding, his voice laced with a raw vulnerability. "I don't know, Emma, but we have to try, for our sake and for our sons." His words lingered in the space between us, a beacon of hope amidst the wreckage of our fractured marriage. In that moment, a fragile truce formed, an unspoken agreement to navigate the aftermath with a semblance of civility. Days turned into weeks, and while the wounds remained raw, a delicate equilibrium settled between us. Our interactions were tinged with a restrained politeness, a conscious effort to coexist in the same space without further turmoil. Yet, the scars of our shattered marriage ran deep, leaving us both grappling with the reality of our fractured relationship and the uncertain path that lay ahead. As we tiptoed around the fragile truce, each of us sought solace in our separate quests for redemption and closure. In the wake of the shattered marriage and the fallout of revelations, the reality of the consequences loomed large for both James and me. The aftermath echoed with the consequences of our actions, leaving us to face the fallout that followed. For me, the days seemed to blur together, each moment haunted by the weight of my choices. I grappled with the ramifications of my affair, navigating the scornful whispers of friends and acquaintances. The judgmental glances and the whispers behind my back were constant reminders of the fallout of my actions. Meanwhile, James was immersed in untangling the aftermath of exposing Michael Brown's illicit activities. The repercussions rippled through the legal circles, causing upheaval and instability. In a moment of vulnerability, I sought solace in a conversation with James, the atmosphere heavy with the remnants of our fractured relationship. "I didn't want any of this to happen," I confessed, my voice wavering with regret. James met my gaze, a mix of pain and resignation in his eyes. "I know, Emma, but our actions have consequences." The weight of his words hung in the air, a stark reminder of the irreversible damage caused by our choices. "Can we ever find closure after all this?" I questioned, my voice laced with uncertainty. James exhaled heavily, his expression reflecting the turmoil within. "Closure might be elusive, but we have to find a way to move forward for our sake and for Jacob's." As we navigated the aftermath of our shattered marriage, the fallout seemed insurmountable, leaving us both to grapple with the consequences of our choices and the uncertain path that lay ahead. Each of us sought redemption and closure in our own way, facing the fallout of our actions with a heavy heart and a tentative hope for a semblance of peace. In the aftermath of the tumultuous events, James and I found ourselves at a crossroads, each treading a path towards redemption and closure. The weight of our shattered marriage lingered, but a glimmer of hope flickered in the horizon as we sought to move forward. The days turned into weeks, and the once painful wounds began to heal, albeit leaving behind scars of the tumultuous past. James focused on rebuilding his life, driven by a newfound sense of purpose that stemmed from the turmoil he had endured. One evening, as I packed a few belongings, preparing to start afresh in a new place, James entered the room, his expression a mixture of solemnity and resolution. "Emma," he began, his voice tinged with a hint of vulnerability, "I want you to know that I hope you find peace and happiness, despite everything." Tears welled up in my eyes, a mix of gratitude and regret washing over me. "Thank you, James, for everything," I replied, my voice choked with emotion. The weight of our shared experiences hung heavy in the air, a silent understanding passing between us. Despite the turmoil, there was a mutual acknowledgement of the need to move forward, to seek redemption from the tangled mess that had been our marriage. As I left, embarking on a journey towards a new beginning, a sense of hope blossomed within me. I sought redemption, determined to rebuild my life and seek forgiveness for the mistakes of the past. Meanwhile, James forged ahead, driven by a renewed sense of purpose. He channeled his energy into his work, striving to make a difference and find closure from the shattered remnants of our marriage. In the quiet moments that followed, a sense of closure settled between us, a silent understanding that our paths had diverged, but the shared history would forever bind us. As we parted ways, each carrying the weight of our mistakes, there was a tentative hope for a better tomorrow, a chance to redeem ourselves and move forward, leaving behind the wreckage of our fractured relationship.